Welcome back to Project ST. In the previous video we learned the car had mismatched tyres. We've now fitted a set of Michelin Pilot Sport 5s front and rear, so they all match nicely. The suspension components were worn, namely front arms and rear beam. So we bought the car today to Tunes UK, who are a suspension specialist in Wrexham. Rich is going to take the car out shortly for a road test. We'll get the car back in, he'll do a full alignment, a full inspection and health check of all the suspension components. So we'll see what needs doing and we'll go from there.
So the Ford Fiesta ST180, cracking little car from the factory. Now, as time's gone on, they are suffering a little bit. Now, optonologists, they've previously had this car diagnosed and checked over, and they're feeling that the components are starting to tire a little bit. So I've taken it out for a quick test drive, and in all honesty, they're right. The steering's a little bit loose. I think it needs a little bit more on the front end, especially rotation on the rear as well. With it being a fixed beam, difficult, but I'm sure we'll be able to do something with that. So we're going to go back to the workshop, get it onto the four-wheel alignment machine. Let's check the geometry, let's get a full report, and let's see what components need changing to make this epic little car even better. Okay, so first things first, car was on the ramp, we checked the geometry. The front toe is out, the left rear axle, it's showing that the rear of the beam is actually towing in by 2 mil actually, which is quite significant, so we need to see if we can rectify that. There's nothing obvious showing that the car's been in an accident, there's no excess camber, there's no excess caster, it's just geometry. But what we'd like to do now is delve a little bit deeper into the wishbone bushes, the rear beam bushes, and also on these, NVH is massive when you put on a torque mount bush, so we'll have a look at that at the same time. So I've now carried out a full report on the Fiesta. Yes, the rear beam bushes, they have play in it, which is a very common problem. The main key component though is the front lower wishbone on these. The rear bush has got excessive play, so we definitely need to change those out. All this report is now bringing us to the point where we know which components need to be changed, just to make it feel that little bit better to drive. Better responsive steering, little bit of rotation but not too much. So before I go changing out any key components on the Fiesta, I need to check ride heights, I need to check rake. But before I do that, I need to set the tyre pressures. Once I've set the tyre pressures, I can take the measurements from the centre of the hub to the arch to make sure we don't have a snap spring, for example. Now with the car being a 2014, got around 50,000 miles on the clock, we can guarantee that the dampers and the springs, they've been on there from the very moment it left the forecourt. So looking at the front piston, yes, it has a little bit of misting on the actual damper itself. There's only one way to actually make this car even better. Some uprated dampers, maybe a lowering kit. Let's have a look at that further down the line. But let's get these key components changed, rear beam bushes, front lower wishbone bushes, and let's take it from there.
So Rich has completed the assessment on the Ford Fiesta suspension. We're going to replace the front lower control arms with Optonologist 1048, which includes the unique vertical pivoting bush at the rear to allow full suspension movement. We're also then going to move on to the rear beam and replace those bushes with SuperPro's SPF 5088.
So now the bushes are all done, we're going to look at other parts of the car that we can refresh while it's here. We're going to do the torque mount bush that we mentioned in the last video. We're going to do drop links and track rod ends. As we're a Febest distributor in the UK, we're going to use their parts. They come with a 2-year, 20,000 mile warranty and they're direct OEM replacement.
And I've reset the geometry ready, so it's time for a test drive, and let's see what those changes have made to the chassis. So that's the rear beam bushes changed, front wishbone's done. We've also swapped out some key components on the car. Now with those changes we've made, it has transformed the car. Turn-in is fantastic, it's compliant. Torque steer disappeared completely, and we've still got rotation. But we've gone through all this time and effort to make the car handle better. It's still in the back of my mind that those pistons have started to mist ever so slightly. I think we need to go back to the workshop and have a word with the guys from Octonologist and see if we can swap out those dampers and the springs, because the suspension still feels that little bit crashy. Let's see what we can do. Let's go back and have a word.
So the car's back in the workshop. As Rich pointed out earlier, the dampers are starting to mist, so we are going to take this opportunity to upgrade the suspension on the car. We've gone for the Bilstein Pro Kit, which comprises of a B8 damper and an Eibach progressive spring. We feel this will give us a good compromise between some fast road use whilst retaining some comfort for day-to-day use. So that's the work complete. Rich has done a full geometry setup on the car to his fast road setup. Feels amazing. Wow. The car is completely transformed. The turn-in is so crisp. The chassis feels compliant, but not crashy. Really good for a track day. Feel like I could drive it on a track. Feel like I could happily commute every day in the car, and it would do everything we need to do. And the best thing about all this, you can buy everything we've fitted to this great little car at octonologist.com. So that's it for this video, but we've got more coming. So don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm off to have a bit of fun in this little car and see what it really can do. So see you next time.